My name is Christopher Saunders, and I'm pleased to have on the catcher and senior captain for Brien McMahon, a part of the baseball program because he was the top performer of the week last week, Peter Meyerson. Peter, thanks so much for being able to come on, man.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm honored.
First and foremost, before we get into the baseball talk, how is everybody in your family during this COVID-19 pandemic?
We're pulling through. I mean, it's ups and downs, every day, just as I think a lot of families are going through right now. But one of the biggest things is we actually adopted a dog, which we've been like kind of thinking about for years now. And now that everyone's at home, like my dad's working from home, I'm at home for school. We just thought it would be a great time, as I think a lot of other people did, just to make that big jump. And it's been awesome because I've always wanted one, and just giving us something to do right now. So
Yeah, as someone who has a dog myself, and I've had, my girlfriend and I adopted a dog a couple years ago. It's one of the best things. And I think looking at the glass half full aspect as far as with this pandemic, and there's not a lot because of the
mhm.
amount of, just with the loss of life and everything and what this illness has does, this virus. But I think, I saw a stat a couple of months ago that the adoption rate in 2020 was through the roof because people wanted some sort of companion. They wanted some sort of some normalcy, some joy, and dogs are perfect for that.
Yep. Yeah, I noticed that stat too. I just hope that once things like go back to normal, people go back to work, that they don't the shelter rate goes up again. And I hope people like know like the commitment they made, and they can like take the time to or dedicate the time to the dog. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're
Mm.
clearing up some shelters.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man, on that. But hey, let's talk about why I have you on here. I mean, you're a fantastic baseball player. You're going to Lafayette, which is a part of the Patriot League. People don't get confused. It's not the Raging Cajuns. I got that confused, but we got that clarified before we
Mm.
started this. First and foremost, congratulations on being able to go to Lafayette Division One. People who may not know about the Patriot League, Holy Cross is a part of that league, and I know some people are, especially from where I live in Waterbury. We've had some kids at part of the football program around the NVL who have gone to Holy Cross. It's a very good league.
Mhm. Yeah, big league. It's good local. It's about the school's about like 2 hours from me, so hour away from New York City, hour away from Philly. So location can't be any better. I mean, not too far from home if I need to come back. An hour away from two major cities, but then you get that small college town feel. So really checks off a lot of boxes for me. So thank you.
And we're going to talk about why you chose Lafayette if we have some time later on. But
Mm.
before we get into that, just kind of take me into the path as far as baseball. What was your path as far as, like, almost in a way, give me the story of Peter Meyerson. How did baseball become your thing?
Yeah, so I think back when I was a kid, my dad just wanted to sign me up for t-ball, and I actually refused my first year. I think I was playing basketball at the time, and I just kind of wanted to do that. I was thinking it was basketball and soccer, and didn't really want to play. And then I think I went over to my friend's house, and I had a catch with him. And I came back to him. I was like, "Yeah, actually sign me up. Like, I want to get out there." And from there, baseball was my thing. I ended up quitting basketball and soccer like later on in my life. So the sport started playing the latest became my thing, and ever since I just kind of ran with it. Just loved playing the game, and yeah, just blessed to be able to play at the next level and continue playing child's game. So
Now, what age did you decide that baseball was going to be? Because you talked about how you played a couple other sports. So, what age did you decide that baseball was going to be something that you wanted to focus on solely?
I think seventh and eighth grade, like my later years of middle school, I started to take like my training to the next level and dedicate more time to the sport. I stopped playing basketball after my freshman year, so I played freshman for the high school, and um, yeah, I think going when I changed programs from middle school to high school, like summer programs, that's when I really like wanted to put in the time. Started playing to like a team that would do like college circuits and showcases and whatnot. And then once I hit after freshman year, I was told I need to put on some weight. So I was like, okay, I can't play basketball in the winter. I'm just gonna dedicate that to weight room, and basically like weight room served as my winter sport. So yeah, it was probably like late middle school, early high school. I decided.
Do you think that playing the sports that you did, because I feel like in some ways, because I always hear, I know that I was reading in Baseball America about a month ago because I get their magazines every month to follow up on college programs and prospects and such. And the head coach at Boston College said when he looks for players, he wants guys who play two or three or more sports because he likes to have that athleticism, that versatility. Because
Mhm,
I'm sure you watch baseball, you're seeing guys as far as like with all the shifts and the position changes and such, they're all over. It's like chess pieces. So I
mhm.
guess the question I have for you is, do you think playing those multiple sports helped you as a baseball player as far as with your athletic ability, and also too not having that wear and tear and kind of burning you out at such a young age?
Yeah, for sure. I think playing basketball, obviously a lot more running and than in baseball. But also I feel like if I was able to integrate like I guess some sort of a cross training in the winter, maybe not just lifting heavy, like doing like intervals and kind of training like short bursts of energy, which you'll get in baseball, then it's maybe not so just training for baseball. That's kind of how I viewed the off season. But in terms of like teamwork and like team chemistry, I definitely think like playing basketball helped me. Um, I feel like basketball, since it's like a lot of instinct and like very fast paced compared to baseball, I was a lot different player, maybe more vocal and like going out there and maybe not trash talking, but I maybe a little trash talking, but in baseball I feel like I'm very it's very cerebral for me, and I try to like stay calm. I feel like it'd hurt me if I was like trash talking or being like vocal. So I'm more of like a quiet leader on the baseball field and like lead by example. And on the when I was on the court, I was more so like loud and kind of had a lot of like fire under me. But yeah, in terms of like athleticism, it was huge. Like I mean I like running, but in baseball maybe it didn't cross over that well because I feel like the furthest you're gonna run is probably inside the park home run, which how common is that? But yeah.
I know. I think hearing you talk about basketball, I mean, I talked to a young man from Killingly. I don't know if you follow different pitchers around or different players rather in
Mhm.
Connecticut, but I had on from Killingly, Bo Yaworski, who's a left-hander, hasn't given up an earned run the entire season. Him and Frank Mazzucato rather from East Catholic, probably the top two left-handers I think in the state.
Mhm.
He was telling me how when he was playing basketball, there were certain things that he was able to bring to the baseball level. And because he's an outfielder, he said when he would go for layups, there was a certain part of his leg, his ankle, or such that he would make sure was up because he wanted to finish the process to the cup. And he said that in the outfield, he was able to translate that and kind of bring that because it's the same motion in a way, because you're having to get high, make sure you kind of bring your shoulder up and then fall through, kind of like in basketball to a certain degree. Was there
Mhm.
anything in basketball or the other sports that you play that you can kind of bring over and maybe helped you in baseball?
One thing I could definitely think off the top of my mind is just when like in a basketball game it's just going back and forth, and especially if you're in there for a long time you might get fatigued. As a catcher, countless games where maybe I'm cramping up or it's a hot day and it's just I'm out there for 7+ innings maybe, and just being able to like put that fatigue in the back of my mind, and bury that. Like technically speaking, like form wise I'd say just like I feel like all sports might have like the same basis of like an athletic position, like kind of being light on your feet, getting low on anything. Like you got to stay low on ground balls, got to stay low when you're blocking, can't pop up. Just as if you're shooting a free throw, you'd want to be in athletic position. If you're guarding someone, athletic, being low. So I feel like they all have that same foundation from the feet up.
Yeah, that's something I didn't even really kind of think about as far as what you talked about, as far as the footwork, the feet, and just kind of keeping your body position. And as a catcher, it's one of the most, I mean, between the pitcher and you're both touching the baseball more than anybody else on the field. And
Mhm.
I think for you to be able to kind of have those traits to bring to the catching game, in my opinion, I feel like it kind of furthers the developmental process for you and lengthens the less of the amount of time it would take you to catch on to something.
Yep, for sure.
Now as far as the catching itself, was that something that you like I know you mentioned t-ball, was that something like was catching something that just kind of was attractive to you from the start, or was it a coach said, hey, here's a glove, go catch, and then it just became what it is now?
I think early, like when I first started playing, even when I don't think like there was technically a catcher, whether it was T-ball or like single A back in Little League. Um, I think I was attracted to like putting on some gear because like obviously football players like put on a lot of gear, lacrosse, same thing. I just wanted to like wear gear. So that's how I feel like it initially started. Then as I got older in Little League and maybe Babe Ruth before I started playing travel ball, um, I was more so like shortstop pitcher. I used to be a pitcher. And then once I decided I want to play in college, I think for whatever reason I went back to catching. Like I just want to go back out there, put the gear on, just kind of be the field general. I mean, I kind of view the catcher as the quarterback of the baseball field. So I think I just want to get more involved, like, and be kind of like the mind behind the game.
No, I think the catching position, you know, because of the way the game is changing, and there's so many. I mean, today, Means for the Orioles threw a no hitter, and I don't know about you, but I really didn't react because, and I've told people this in the past, and some agree with me, some don't. Because the way the game is changing, I feel like it's much easier to throw a no hitter now because everyone's the launch angle, lofting the ball, trying to hit line drives, but more so in the air rather than keeping the line drives on a line. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like because of that, we've lost that. And with the catching aspect, and I don't know how much baseball you watch. I'm sure it's a lot. But in the World Series last year, you had two teams who probably had the best catching at least that year, the Rays and the Dodgers. And the Dodgers had two catchers because they had Smith and they had Barnes. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's the part of the game that needs to be shown more, defensively with catchers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would like definitely like to hear. I mean, if you dig enough, probably you could probably find interviews, but definitely like to hear like their approach and like kind of what goes through their mind when they're calling the game because that's definitely something I like would love to hear. I feel like I have a decent like understanding of like when like looking at hitters and understanding my pitcher and reading like foul balls and stuff like that and just trying to get in the hitter's head because one of the best parts of my game is hitter, like being a hitter. So I feel like get if I can get in that hitter's head and really just mess with like what he's thinking,
Mhm.
then we'll have like the upper hand. So just want to like hear like all the different approaches because I know everyone has a different philosophy, but I agree. Like I feel like the catchers they kind of go like unnoticed. A lot of people are just focusing on the pitching, the hitting. So yeah.
And you bring up the fact of being able to read hitters' swings, kind of pick up tendencies a little bit of what they're trying to do, not trying to do.
Mhm.
Um, the catching position, again, I go back to now, I go to the college level. I can't tell you that I have seen a game other than Georgia Tech to a certain degree when Joey Bart was there before he was drafted by the Giants, where I'm not seeing a catcher or I'm not seeing a coach do like these, where it's a call and the catcher, like you mentioned, the quarterback. Okay, that means fastball inside. There's no thinking. It's just I see, I do. It's like robotic.
Mhm.
And the question I have for you is, have you been able to call your own games? Were coaches calling it? Because I feel like if you were able to call your own game, your growth as a catcher is up here compared to everybody else because now you're thinking compared to the robots.
Yeah. So early on, when I like underclassmen during travel ball in the summer, definitely had a lot of trouble calling my own game. Like I had the freedom to, but there were times where like maybe my pitcher wasn't doing so well or he was getting rocked, and coach calls me out to meet with him, and I'm like, oh, the pitcher's gonna get yelled at. Turns to me and I get yelled at for the game I'm calling. So I kind of had to learn it the hard way, but then I felt like I've grown a lot. And then this past fall when I was playing, I got a lot of compliments from like my coaches saying like it's having like a third coach behind there. So I feel like I improved in that sense. But yeah, for high school ball, I do have the freedom to call my own games. Um, a lot of times now that a lot of games are live streamed, we try to find like the games and I try to pick up on hitters' tendencies prior to when we play them and kind
Mhm.
of talk with my pitcher beforehand and see what their game plan is. But yeah, I'm constantly thinking during the game, reading like where the hands are on the hitter, how they're setting up in the box, how they're fouling balls off, all that stuff. And a lot of it also depends on like what my pitcher has that day. Sometimes they'll tell me like, hey, my changeup's not working or my slider's not working and stuff. So it's just a lot of like sliding factors I take into account.
What part of the game or what part of calling the game did you find difficult? Was it, I know you mentioned the change up, the off speed stuff, pitches. Was it calling certain pitches that was difficult? Was it the movement behind the plate? Was it the relationships you have? Because, I'm a pitcher myself. I pitched all the way through college. Every pitcher is different. Sometimes you got a normal guy. Sometimes you've got a weird, awkward, kind of kooky guy. I mean, especially the left handers. We're all weird. You know what I mean? But like, for you, I feel like there must have been at least a point where like I mentioned, as far as maybe it was calling the change ups, not being able to kind of get that in sync. Was there anything that you struggled with, but now it's better?
I think I struggle with just having guts and like trusting my instinct because like maybe a lot in like little league and younger age you see like oh 0-2 like the curveball is coming and just getting older and just like not like calling the game like a robot as you were saying like oh 0-2 means curveball or 0-2 means waste pitch
Hmm.
and just having the guts to maybe double up or even triple up on pitches, start implementing like the shakes, different looks and stuff like that. I also implement like a lot of, I work on like the backwards L, as people say, like work low and out and up and stuff. Just changing like the hitter's eye, like we'll go soft out and then hard in or soft out and go up.
Hmm.
Um, and then also just taking away, I think a lot of it originated in like Japan. Like they like to pitch backwards. So starting guys off with curveballs, then maybe doubling up on that and just kind of just like I said, messing with the hitter. Like that's probably my favorite part of the game, just seeing like if my pitcher's like working real hard, just making hitters look like I guess stupid. I hate to say it, but just kind of messing with them and like I love to see him guessing because that's the fun part of the game. So yeah, just like kind of taking away. But I'd say like definitely having the guts. Like before, I just kind of I guess too programmed and didn't want to change anything. But
Now let's be honest here. Do you enjoy catching a guy who's throwing Ched, but it looks really easy and you don't have to do much? Or do you like catching pitchers like, I don't know, I'll throw out guys like Hendricks, Kyle Hendricks from the Cubs, Jamie Moyer for going way back with Seattle and the Phillies and all that. And I think he pitched for Toronto and the Cubs and whatever. But anywho, those are guys who don't throw hard at all. They probably don't even break glass, but the movement, the tunneling aspect where every pitch looks like the same and then it darts this way, darts that way, it's ridiculous. Do you find that to be more because now you're thinking along with the pitcher a little bit more because he's thinking probably the same thing that you are, trying to, like you said, make hitters look stupid?
yeah, I love it all. I think I just loving like enjoying how every pitcher has their own style. That's what I really enjoy because it makes me think. Like I just love. I mean, early on, I didn't know like how to, I guess, compartmentalize like my like brain and like kind of control my thoughts. And I'm someone that like constantly has racing thoughts. And but once I was able to like kind of organize it, I really enjoyed it because I am like very like I said cerebral and like love to think. So if I have a guy like you said, like Hendricks, like a lot of movement versus maybe a guy who's like Chapman who throws like over 100 and maybe has another slider, like I just love to like have to change my game plan and adapt. I think that's the big thing. So I love it all.
Now, your growth as far as from your freshman year till now, I mean, tell me about kind of your freshman year. Now, did you play varsity? Did you start your freshman year?
Yep, I started varsity freshman year, batted leadoff, and played a little catcher, but I also played a little outfield. We had a senior catcher who's now in the Sun Belt, so he's doing pretty well.
Oh yeah, I mean that's pretty good. I mean, the
Yeah.
Sun Belt's not. I mean, think about it. You had a senior catcher who was in the Sun Belt, is in the Sun Belt, and now you going to the Patriot League. So it's kind of like the passing of the torch in a way, right?
Sorry, you broke up there. I just missed that last part.
I was saying it was kind of like passing the torch a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like he was a great role model. We played the same summer program, so he was around there too. And
Mhm.
now it's good to see him like doing well down there. Um, but yeah, for sure, passing the torch. He was hurt for the first half, so luckily I got a couple games in there. But then he was like,
Mhm.
"I'm taking it back," so I went back to the outfield. But
So, but and for people who may not know, and I don't even know who the player is. So just tell me who's he play for, what's his name, and kind of what did he do to help you as a young catcher yourself, him being the veteran at the time.
yeah, so his name is Anthony Sochi. I think he started out of JUCO. Lackawanna, and then now he's playing for University of Arkansas Little Rock. And I think what he taught me was just being fearless with throwing the ball, like maybe throwing it back to first, throwing it back to second, because that was one of my weaknesses as a catcher. I was always like pretty good receiver and blocker, but just having like those guts to just throw it back. So he just taught me how to be fearless. He had a cannon, so I don't think I have quite as good arm as him, but just being willing to just make that big play was a big thing.
Hey, I'm a fan of his because that's where my dog's from. My dog's from Little Rock, Arkansas.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a fan of him already because he's already at a school where my dog was from, so I gotta love it. But hey, that's great to be able to hear kind of about that story about how he was able to help you, man.
Yeah.
Now, when he left, did you, and not to say that you couldn't fend for yourself, but when you did deal with struggles, now your sophomore year. Now were you the full-time catcher your sophomore year?
I started as the full time catcher, and then I got injured like pretty early on the season,
Mhm,
which kept me out completely of a couple games. And then I was able to just kind of play through it and DH. I couldn't squat down for a while.
mhm,
So that was a little disappointing, but um, yeah, it just like I think a lot of it helped that even though he was gone, that we played in the same summer program
mhm.
because like we had a lot of the same like philosophy on things, and we knew each other outside of high school. So
I was gonna say because of the injury and now hearing about kind of some of the adversity that you dealt with, were you able to kind of connect with him, stay in contact with him, and just kind of not, I don't want to say use him because I hate saying the word use because you never want to use anybody, but just as a former teammate and a friend, just to reach out and say, hey, I'm dealing with this. Can you help me out? I trust you. I feel like he was someone that you could go to for that.
I didn't stay in touch with him as much as I'd like to, and now like saying it out loud, definitely would have been a great person to because he dealt with a lot of adversity more so than I did. I think he had two like huge injuries during high school, which might have set back his recruiting. But just to see like how he overcame them and looking where he's at now, definitely I do regret that now I'm saying it out loud. But yeah, for sure, like he definitely would have been someone to reach out to with someone dealing with injuries.
Hey, you know what? Just reach out to him when you're in college now. Now you have a whole nother reason to reach out to him.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, if he's watching this, he'll be like, you know what? I'm expecting a text message from him soon.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
So now tell me about the year that was it your senior year? Was it your junior year? What year, or was it during the summer? When did you pop? When did it kind of become like, okay, you know what? I think I can play college ball. I think this is something I can get a free education for, or at least go on and not have to pay $800,000 in debt.
I think just once I honestly early on, I feel like maybe my freshman year, um, I think I started playing my summer program, Baseball U. I'm just gonna come out and say the name. I played Baseball U Connecticut. I started playing that going into my freshman year, so like my just after I graduated 8th grade,
Mhm,
and once talking with these like really experienced coaches, I think hitting was like my main tool. Like they told me early on, hitting like was going to be my token to wherever I ended up playing. So really once I started working them on the catching aspect and like that position side, that's really when I figured out like, okay, I might have a shot. I think my arm like set me back a little bit. I have like an average, maybe above average arm behind the plate, but not like anything like special. So that was a little unfortunate, but I think just once they taught me like how to receive, how to block, like all the fundamentals, just how to be a leader out there. That was another thing I struggled for a while, just because I more tend to be someone more quiet on the field. Um, I spent a lot of time like just texting with my coaches, like how to be more vocal, being more confident in myself. Um, so I guess when it really all came together um, was this past summer. Just having it taken away from us during the spring and just going through that and being fortunate enough to play in the summer, I was like, what's there to lose now? I mean, like the dead period kept getting extended, coaches couldn't come out. Um, and I was like, just have fun at this point. Like there's no point being stressed about this. Like if you get a spot to play, like
mhm.
great. If you don't, then just ball out your senior year and just have fun with it. So I think once I got that confidence and became more vocal on the field, That's really when I was like, you know what, I think I can do this for sure, and like maybe like continue like setting the bar high for myself in college and maybe even beyond. If I'm fortunate enough.
When you mentioned the fact of the blocking and the receiving, and and all the all the articles I've read, and when I think about what scouts look for, hitting, power, speed, defense, arm, the five tools. Okay. And I've mentioned this on broadcast when I was broadcasting for the Bristol Blues, who are now in the NECBL, and the Torrington Titans, who are no longer in the FCBL. They've now dissolved. They're no longer there. But I mentioned on the air plenty of times that I feel like and I know the typical five tools as I mentioned, but there's a sixth tool, and it's having aptitude, the IQ, knowing certain things. And you mentioned your arm strength. And I don't know if I'm sure your arm's gotten better. It may never be plus. I mean, nobody has the God-given cannons like, some have, because it's God-given. But as far as looking at it from the brain aspect, the sixth tool, I feel like there's certain ways to get the most out of your arm, calling, certain pitches that can maybe help you, or just calling a better game,
Mhm.
or your footwork, maybe being quicker on the transfer. There's ways to make up for that to be able to get the most out of your arm, because if your arm is your worst tool and everything else is average or better, that's still a heck of a player.
Yep. Yeah. So I think, like I was saying earlier, I'm a thinker, and at first I didn't really know how to use that tool. It kind of like set me back because I was thinking so much, like thinking about recruiting, thinking about this, thinking about that. And then once I was able to be like, you know what, like I could, like, if I learn how to call a game, if I learn how to pick up on signs and pick up on all these little things, then it can make up for like my arm. So then like I'm even like glancing over at the third base coach, trying to pick up signs, having other guys try to pick up signs for me. So if I know he's going, like, then I could call something different, or maybe call a slide step if the guy's not going from the slide step automatically.
Mhm.
Just stuff like that. And I definitely worked hard on my footwork, staying low. We always say like you don't want to come up like a helicopter, you want to come up like a plane, like gradual out the chute. And just working on that constantly in the off season. Because I identified that as my weakness early on. For a while, I thought I was just going to be moved to outfield, just because it's a longer like arm slot, maybe a little easier to throw, and like the short like ear arm slot from a catcher was tough for me for a while.
Mhm.
But I'm glad I could be back there, because outfield, not that it was boring, but like I said, since I'm a thinker, I'm constantly thinking out there like the catcher should have called this, the catcher should have called that. So once I'm, that's another thing. Now that I'm saying it, like having playing out in the outfield and then coming back to catcher made me appreciate catching more. And then that's not something I kind of viewed that as a catalyst of being like, you know what, I think I could do this. So
And also too, from the catching aspect, not to look down the road as far as from the draft aspect, but just thinking about the amount of how valuable catchers can be and are. I mean, we talked about the World Series. I mean, I don't know who's your favorite baseball team.
I'm a Yankee fan.
Oh, okay. So we maybe share the same thing. Sanchez should never catch again, ever, never.
Agreed. I mean, I'm like, I love watching Higashioka receive. In my opinion, he's one of the best receivers in the game right now. And I think if you probably look at like stats, he probably
Mhm.
steals like some of the most strikes for the amount of games he plays. So yeah, I agree with that.
What's your opinion on, and I know we're getting off subject, but this is because we're Yankee fans. What's your opinion on the catching coordinator, Swanson, who came over from the Twins? Because he made Sanchez do that. And I don't know if you do this, Peter, but he had the one leg stretched out, and then he had the other one in kind of the normal squat position. And I felt like, to me, you're making someone who's not athletic now less athletic, because now if there's a pitch in the dirt, a shot put like 50 feet, I call it a shot put. Now he can't move, but Higashioka can do that, and I've noticed he's not doing it that much.
I think it all depends on the catcher. Like
Mhm.
coming off my injury from sophomore year, I never like fully healed my knee, so I had to adapt and start playing around with my stance. So now I go down the one leg a lot. I'm still very flexible, but I just try to keep like too much pressure from my right knee. So I like mess around my stance a lot. So I think it just depends on the catcher. Like I'd consider Higashioka a little more mobile than Sanchez. So I think like maybe Swanson needs to understand like, you know what, like we need to maximize Sanchez's like mobility, which
Mhm.
isn't going to come from maybe him being on a knee, because it is like you have to be like I guess, flexible and quick back there, which he was lacking early on. So I maybe just understanding that. But there's a lot of guys that can do it if you look around. I know it's very popular now. Um, I most of the time put my left knee down, just it's a little more comfortable when receiving. I don't have to like cross a knee.
Mhm.
I see a lot of guys now putting their right knee down if there's a runner on. They're able to like shoot guys out like that. So it's just interesting to see like the new stances that are coming out now.
Now when you're in the catching position, are you setting up as low as possible for the target? Because I know, again, going back to what is being taught, you have different ways of, and this goes from the high school level all the way through. Some catching coordinators, some coaches like catchers to be low so they can get that low strike. Some are like to be more movable, like, more flexible. What are you doing as far as behind the plate?
With when there's no runners on, I'm getting as low as possible. I kind of get in like a split back there. I feel like I kind of like make the other team like kind of impressed, like how is he getting that low? But then also just depending on the pitcher, some guys don't mind, like they don't need that like glove as the target.
Mhm.
Other guys need it there, so then starting there, and I always think like I don't want my muscles to be tense in my arm when I'm receiving. So just starting like that. But I definitely like to start low as possible. Like I still can block from like that position, but I don't need to if there's not a runner on. And as I'm growing, I'm getting a little more comfortable. So then I can still like get low and maybe throw someone out from that position as well. But if no one's on, I'm getting as low as possible. I don't care if a ball gets past me. Obviously, I got to protect the umpire. I don't want to get him upset. But yeah, there's nothing to lose when there's no one on. I'm just focused on the strikes. And then when there's a guy on, just if there's a righty, I can see him in the corner of my eye. Maybe I'll be in my secondary. If I see he's not going, I can kind of like sink back and receive it a little softer. And then if he is going or I hear something, if the lefty's up, I can react from that secondary. But
Man, it's been great to be able to have you on. I really do appreciate you coming on, Peter. I do have one more question for you as far as the team itself. And I know we didn't get a lot about the team, it was a lot about you, but that's why you're on here because of what you've been doing, not just the past week, but overall during the season. But you guys right now are 5-4. You were supposed to play New Canaan, but it rained. So you're going to be playing them tomorrow, if I remember right. So kind of just give me almost a synopsis of kind of how the season's been going so far for Brien McMahon and kind of what could be. I know you mentioned you have 3 games in 3 days coming up, so that's going to be fun for you guys.
yep. I think early on, just kind of figuring stuff out, senior heavy team, maybe 2, 3 returning varsity players, just kind of getting the gears moving. And then from now, I think we're just over the halfway mark, just starting to roll. I think everyone makes FCX this year, so everyone makes the conference. So, but we want to earn that. I'm telling everyone, like, even though like it's kind of handed to us, we want to get the home field advantage. We want to get as high C as possible. We had a little like halfway mark season meeting the other day. Unfortunately, we lost to Trumbull the other day. But we want to go 3-0 the rest of the week. Come out strong, try to get that high seed, and then maybe make a deep run in states afterwards. But
Man, I'm wishing you nothing but the best of luck, Peter, as well. Not just for the remainder of the season, but also when you go to Lafayette in the fall to be able to continue your baseball journey as well as your academic as well. Congratulations to you. I'm sure your family's thrilled and well deserved, man. And also, why you're on here is the top performer of the week. So, congratulations and thank you so much for being able to come on.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me on as well.
No problem, buddy. That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. MRCT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm on a journey to find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.